and welcome to Dagger Cast. It's me, your host, Lindsey Charles, lead singer of a wonderful band called The Cell Phones, and corporate brat. I'm literally sitting here at the place where I work my day job from home, so I'm really feeling how soul-sucking this can be sometimes. So I'm taking a break to do an intro. Hello, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for either watching this on YouTube or listening on all of the streaming services. We very much appreciate you. If you ever want to email me about, I don't know, feedback or ideas or questions that you may have just about horror films in general, racial representation, how horror makes you feel, feel free to email me at daggercastinfo@gmail.com. I would love to hear your feedback. I seriously would. So yeah, this is a long time coming. I have owed this intro to my production manager, sorry Jared, for quite a while. But I am here. Last week we had a bit of a hit to the Chicago music scene. Steve Albini died very unexpectedly of a heart attack. A lot of people I really care about loved and cared about him very well and were friends with him. A lot of other bands that we've played with have recorded at Electrical Audio, where he was the recording engineer. He has done so much for the underground music scene and for recording rock music in general. He recorded Nirvana's In Utero, PJ Harvey's Rid of Me. My favorite particularly is Joanna Newsom's Wise album. I also call it Yes. He did the vocals and the harp for her in that, and that's one of my favorite albums ever. So yeah, he's very sorely missed. He was known as, he was in bands such as Big Black, Rape Man. He very much was a bit of a, I don't know, he had a bit of an edgelord reputation, a bit curmudgeonly. He knew what he liked, and he worked really fucking hard. And that's what that's kind of the work ethic he had is the thing that everybody in the music communities that I belong to loved and admired. We always used to tell each other to not quit, don't quit. And so I think we're all really hurting. I definitely wanted to immediately reach out to my friends that I knew would be hurting from this information. And of course, with every famous icon, person, hero that we love, things have been flying around on the internet too about things he said in the past. So feel free to take that as you will, do your own research. It's it's just been such a shit show of a year, just with our society and the world around us. The fact that I literally sit here 9 to 5 M through F, and my tax dollars go to help fund a genocide. There sometimes I just have to take that information, process it, make my own conclusions, and then just keep trucking, which is what I will do. I wanted to bring up just a couple bits of media that I've been really into. I did watch Late Night with the Devil. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, and I was kind of sad about it. Because it was in the 70s, the 70s were a kooky time. I definitely didn't see much representation. I did like the, I liked the costuming. I really liked how real they tried to keep it and how tied to the 70s they tried to keep it. But all of the intro stuff in the beginning looked so fucking photoshopped, looked so heavily filtered and photoshopped that it really just took me out of the 70s experience. I was kind of grumpy about it. And then also there were so many production companies introed in the beginning that it started to feel like a Tommy Wiseau / Tim and Eric spoof, which I thought was really silly. And a lot of people were saying that they were getting kind of a bit of a like Too Many Cooks vibe, an Adult Swim vibe. I don't think that if that's what they were trying to go for, I don't think they committed to it as heavily as they should have or went as far as they could have. but yeah, I thought with the amount of production companies that were at the beginning of the film, no one could do a better job with the images. I of course love the actors. The main actor, David I'm so sorry, I'm not even gonna try. I love that guy. He was a Chicago actor. I've been in peripheral things with him. He is very, very talented and well worth I don't know, well worth it. And he just came out with a crazy photo shoot where he is wearing very androgynous stuff, and he's got like the what the Margiela like glossy look, like the ceramic look face. What was that? Pat McGrath? I don't remember. I'm not good at remembering fashion stuff. But it was really good. I love him as an actor. Yeah, the photo shoot, look that up because it's real cute. But yeah, everything he does is well deserved. He's been doing quite a lot on Shudder recently, and I think he also has an interview show called Grave Encounters now that I think is super cute, where he interviews people in coffins, which is amazing. I like his take on horror. So I wanted Late Night with the Devil to be better, but it just wasn't. Um, Also, this isn't a movie and it's not horror, but I did also read a book called A Little Life that if any of you are familiar with it, you know that though not horror, it does elicit quite a feeling from the reader. It is a beautiful, gut-wrenching, traumatizing book, but it is a beautiful story about friendship, about male friendship, about trauma, and about how trauma, if not checked, if not attended to, will literally control you like a puppet and dictate your entire life and the way you live it. And it's so it's such a deep, wonderful book, but it has a quite a trigger warning. It's definitely anything bad that happens with anything bad that could happen to a child does happen. So if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, I maybe recommend not reading this book, but I think it's worth the price of admission, honestly. It is written by, I wrote it down on a post-it note, Hanya Yanagihara. I hope I said that correctly. Anyway, she's great, great writer. I look forward to future books. But yeah, I started reading this book because TikTok had like some kind of crazy like book challenge, and it would be these women. And again, TikTok is such a great place for people to kind of express emotions and express like media that they enjoy. Just like with the Grimace Shake, it also is just a perfect place to show your just little slice of like, I don't know what you think horror and devastation looks like, but women were literally like grabbing the book and being like, this is my first day reading A Little Life. And then like middle of the way through, they're like, this is my 21st day of reading a little. And then like by the end, they're like reading the book and like blubbering and sobbing. And people will film their friends. Like, I think I saw one where a woman was reading the book on an airplane and her face was just like puffy and red. She was just like, and honestly, you will like, it's not a book where you're like, oh, like you're full on sobbing. It's a great book, but only if you like that kind of thing. Only if you like books to make you feel like shit. Like that's a book for you. Again, you know, get your media in different ways. Movies aren't just the thing. Books also are, they somehow they even find a better way to terrify and torture and torment you. But yeah, you got to get your media in different ways. Just like I remember very vaguely Dan Savage saying once in a Savage Love, I think this was in the columns, like in when I was reading the Reader in Chicago. Um, Dan Savage said something to some guy that was like, "Oh, I'm masturbating, but it's like the effect is wearing off, or like it's taking me longer to, you know, because I only masturbate one way." And he was like, vary it up. So I always think about that when I think about everything in moderation, or just like, oh, hey, I just read a really, I just listened to a great audiobook. What's next? Like, try to find a different medium every time. Anyway, good Lord. Let's talk about Lilly Choi. I had a great, wonderful interview with the front woman of Chicken Happen. Absolutely great band, a band that we've played with for a very long time. They are a Chicago, I don't know what you would call them. I mean, I would consider them rock, very like melodic, very the songwriting is beautiful. It's um they just released an album last year called Chicken Happen 4 that I highly recommend. It's on all the streaming things, so please do listen to it. But Lilly Choi has a great set of pipes. Great set of pipes there. And she also multi-instrumentalist. I feel like I've not just seen her play piano, but also other instruments as well. So yeah, it was just really nice to talk to her about kind of horror. And again, like some people, you don't have to be a horror buff to be interviewed by me. You just have to be someone who is open to talking about your experiences with horror. So we do a lot of that. A lot of things that we experienced both in our past are a bit aligned. We talk a lot about songwriting. But yeah, so good talk, and I do hope you enjoy it. But here is my wonderful interview with Lilly Choi. Oh, and I want to remind you that in June 13th, we are going to be playing the Empty Bottle together. It'll be us, the cell phones. It'll be Chicken Happen. It'll be Bleach Party. NITE Smoke will be DJing. It's all basically a bunch of bands that were on the soundtrack to Departing Seniors. So it's kind of a Departing Seniors reunion. Very excited about it. If you watch Departing Seniors, you will hear Chicken Happen as well. So please, watch that movie if you haven't already. And yeah, enjoyed this interview with Lilly Choi. Hey. Cool. Oh my gosh, Lilly, it's so cool to talk to you today. I'm
excited.
Yeah, thanks so much. It has been a minute. I feel like I can't even remember the last time I saw your band. It's been so long. Has it been pre-pandemic? I feel like I saw you guys after.
I mean, it's like a weird time warp, right? It's like, what happened during the pandemic? What did I do? Did I see you during the pandemic, or was it before?
Yeah, like did we pass each other masked, like like on the street? Like I don't even know. It's crazy. But I thanks so much for being on the show. I very much appreciate it. I kind of wanted to just this is kind of the question I ask a lot because I'm always very curious. But what was your first horror, and yeah, how old were you, and what imprint did it put on you, if anything?
Okay, so my first experience was the Japanese Ring,
Mm.
and I was probably in junior high, and it totally fucked with me. Like, I was afraid to sleep at night. I was afraid to close my eyes. I was afraid to turn on the TV. Like, it so deeply fucked with me. Like, there are scenes that I just will never forget. And I know now with like the American Ring, like everyone's like, oh, this, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't even know. You don't know Ring. Like, it really like I probably didn't even watch a scary movie for a year or so after that because it scared me so bad.
Dude, this is crazy because it is such a parallel. I was in high school when the American Ring came out, and I had a friend who was like, "Oh, I saw it. I'd love to see it again, knowing what I know now." And so we were like, "Yeah, come with us." And it was me and like my best friend Garrett. And I remember through the entire movie, like I think it was a late show. There was maybe like 4 people in the audience, and we were like holding each other. And my friend Angela was just literally just like eating popcorn because she knew what was happening. She wasn't afraid, but we were terrified. And
Yeah.
I remember, I think that was the first time I cussed in front of my mom was when I came home and I was like, that was fucking what the fuck? And she's just like, Lindsay, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't have like words anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and then a day after, I think like a couple days after, I accidentally stepped on a remote in my room and the snowball happened, just surprise, and I literally just like crawled back in bed and called my mom. Like I was like, I can't even leave. I can't even. I'm so scared. So that's hilarious that
Yeah.
that was your, because I think that The Ring, as much as we like joke about it now and as much as we like parody it and stuff, like that was our heredity like at that time. Like
Big time.
yeah, like it
You
was,
watched
it
the
had.
Japanese Ring?
Hmm?
Have you seen the Japanese one? The original?
Yes. It's like, I don't know, I don't necessarily know if I think it's, I mean, it's definitely scarier because it's definitely like more of a, I don't know, more of a mystery to me because there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that they're doing that I'm like, I'm not, I was not raised in this time and place.
Right.
Like, so it was a little like scarier. But I don't know, I thought Naomi Watts turned it out. Like, I'm happy when I thought Ring 2 was stupid.
Right.
Um, but Ring 1 for what it was, like, rocked my world. It was like Blair Witch. Like, it was
Mhm.
like the next thing that happened. Like after I saw Blair Witch, I like was like, what the hell? Like horror movies can do what? Like this is
Right.
crazy. So yeah, that was like a very, I don't know, I think that was like the birth of the twist. Like like we had Sixth Sense sort of, but that was like not a horror movie.
Right.
But we had like the horror twist. Then it was like,
Five-ish.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, that's so crazy. Very, very like a parallel. And it's funny that, you know, you were like, it's the Japanese Ring was the first, and I was like, I didn't even know there was one. That was like the beginning of us like taking things like The Grudge.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
And
that, yeah.
now I feel like we do it too much. I feel like well, we do we were doing it too much where we were just like Americanizing things that were Japanese or Korean.
Right.
Now I feel like we're letting them kind of stand on their own and be like, "Oh yeah, a really scary movie happened in Korea." No, 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 just watch the original.
Right.
And now we do that now instead of like recreate a whole thing. Like Squid Game.
Mhm.
Like I know we're going to make a new, we're going to make an Americanized Squid Game someday and no one will care.
Wouldn't
Like
be
it'll,
America if they didn't, right?
yeah, it's so stupid. Well, you mentioned that you were not very like, you're not like a person that does scary, but that you like kind of the more like the funny horror.
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Okay, so like very recently, I just watched Bodies, Bodies, Bodies,
Mm, hmm.
and it really it's not that I don't do horror, but I get so legitimately scared.
Yeah.
So for me, like watching a horror movie, it's like a challenge, which is fun. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I got like I like watch like this. So like I enjoy, but I have to like work myself up to it. So, but I love movies like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Really cracked me up, and like everything about it, like it was a commentary. I feel like
Hmm.
on like just modern culture is like, and just like so satirical, and I loved that about it.
Yeah,
And
I liked the my favorite part was the main character girl like says the word lame really like long, like lame, like, and then later like accuses someone of being ableist, and that made me laugh my ass off because I was like it's so cool to watch writers like purposefully get it wrong.
yes,
And I think that was like the whole movie. It was basically like we
totally,
want, they're all wrong, like whether they're alive or dead. Like
yeah.
everyone is just stupid and wrong. And to see at the very end with the spoiler alert.
Oh my god, I know that
Yeah.
is a spoiler.
Yeah. Like it's so funny to know that it was like it was never a killer. It was actually just a idiot. Like So great.
really stupid. But
But
I
he fucks, but you can
yeah.
tell he fucks. Like it is. Oh my gosh.
That one I wasn't I went into it not even really knowing what to expect. I kind of thought I was gonna hate it.
Mm.
I thought I was gonna hate watch it, and then I was like, no, this is really funny. I like this. This is great.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, as an adult, I feel like my movies are split between like, oh, this is a movie that is gonna be good. I would like to see it in a theater. And then there's one was like, oh, this is a movie that's going to be visually insane. I'm gonna IMAX that. And then I have ones where I'm like, oh, this is a movie that's gonna be absolutely terrible. I will be high on my couch.
Yeah.
Like, I just found out Madame Web is officially like less money to rent right now, and I'm like,
Ready? Nice.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
one, I was like, I don't want to pay to watch that in theaters, but I would watch that.
yeah. I feel like you saying that like kind of it's almost to me it's almost like how do you like your coffee? Like how do you like that's like my question is to people always is like how do you like your horror? Like because I feel like horror is it is such a genre that can move and adjust to the times to
Mhm.
any genre really. I don't know like I mean they've even tried to rom-com horror lately. Like we've got Lisa Frankenstein, we've got like, ones where people are like in love but also murdering and
Yeah.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
so it's cool that like I think some people are also like, yeah, I like my horror with a little bit of funny in it. And
Yeah.
you were talking about like kind of how you like how like people are idiots. So yeah, bodies is like a it's almost like an updated version because really all we had was like Scream.
Yeah.
Um, and that was like terrifying, but it was also constantly commenting on
Right.
itself. Um, and it's kind of funny, like even the later movies, like even the most recent, I think the most recent one was kind of stupid, but like the one before that, like they were constantly still talking about the tropes where they were like, oh, the fourth movie always does this and that, and then that happens in the movie. And
Right.
it's always really funny. But I also think like I was just thinking about it. I was like, what kind of horror do I enjoy in film or in horror films? And I was thinking about Hereditary, which I don't know why it's
Yeah.
popped into my head again. I think it's just memeing again. Or I love the movie.
Okay.
I think it's one of the fucking scariest things I've ever seen. It literally like I don't know, like I love family. I love getting together with family. And so that movie like fucked me up a lot. Um but there were parts in it that made me laugh my ass off, like the scene where like Tony Collette's like yelling at her son, and she's like, "I'm your mother," and she's like, "Look at me with that stupid fucking face on your face," like, and I was like, these are like hilarious moments because it's
Yeah.
like I like even though we're even though terrible things are happening,
Right.
like there is still just like a weird awkward thing that you have like with just being with a family member and like arguing with them. Even like the way that she was able to kind of like brush off the fact that her mom was like doing some really weird ass shit, like
Right.
trying to feed her baby like with her own boob, and it's like, no, mom, don't do that. That's weird.
Um, I actually watched Hereditary super late, like maybe 3 years after it came out.
Oh
I
dang.
think it would had just been too hyped up for me, so I
Okay.
was ready to be just fucking like mind-blowingly scared. So I think I had just built it up too much, and then I was like, I don't know. It didn't hit for me in the way that I was really, but I really think it's because I had built it up so much just from what everyone had been telling me because it was like everyone's favorite scary movie. Everyone
Yeah.
was telling me it was the scariest thing that they've seen like ever or in so long. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna watch it.
It's true though. It is like you kind of have to go in blind
Right.
because there is just so much. I also think sometimes like trailers will ruin a movie. Like it did it for me in Us. Like there was like a scene in the trailer
Yes.
of Us where I was like, that's the twist. You just gave away the twist. Like and I think maybe I mean I don't know if Jordan Peele heard me, but but I'm sure he got the memo because then like Nope was very mysterious. Like you didn't know what
Yeah.
anything was going on
Did
because
you like Nope?
dude, I don't know if I necessarily liked it like better as a movie,
Yeah.
better than Get Out or better than like
Right.
I didn't think there were scenes where I was like, "Whoa, like I just want to see a whole movie of this." Like when the sitcom, like the whole sitcom
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
like I would have loved to see more of that.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought that like yeah, I thought Daniel Kaluuya could like that man could act with eyeballs alone.
for sure.
Like that man like I don't know. I was very like can he get an Oscar for this? And like I
Yeah.
know it's impossible but like could he?
Yeah.
And there were a couple like movie nods that he did that I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But yeah, like as a movie as a whole, I was very like, "Huh."
Me too.
But a lot of LA people, a lot of people in the movie industry were like, "He was doing something about film. It's about film." And I'm like,
I was like, okay, so this is like supposed to be this intellectual,
"Yeah.
like maybe it just went over my head because me too. I was like, huh, okay. I was like, all right.
Yeah." Because they kept saying there's like, "Oh, the alien does like that kind of like snap, like the shutter noise." And I'm just like, "What?" Like so then it just became like a whole thing where I was like, "Oh, maybe I don't know enough." Like
That's
to
what I was thinking too. I was like, maybe I'm missing something here.
yeah, I think a lot of people also were like, "Oh, the locations they went to, like that's my favorite like electronics store. Like they closed that place." Like and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like
Yeah.
that made sense to me,
Jordan
I
Peele
guess.
would do that. I feel like he's a nerd like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I definitely yeah, I appreciate him for that. And I did
Yeah,
love
me
the
too.
movie. I thought I don't know, I thought Kiki Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya they can act anything in my book
Yeah.
and
And also just like speaking of representation, like Steve Young was in it too, and I was just
yeah,
like, yes, a movie with not all white cast,
right?
especially like a horror movie. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. No, and I love like Steve Young like in my book is like such a great actor because he comes from horror. He comes from The Walking Dead.
Oh
Um
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah, he literally comes from the like he comes from horror TV. Um
right,
and in that even like he started as such a little gangly nothing and then was a like a love interest
right.
and it was like, "Oh my god, am I like hot for this? Am I hot for him?" Like and I'm always now. Like there was some interview where Pedro Pascal and Stephen Young like talked to each other and then they like took pictures with each other and they were the cutest little pictures and I was like,
I want a
"Oh
second to look that up.
I was like, can I be in the middle of that?" Like I like so but also like I feel like he started the whole like Asian man love interest is
Totally.
real. You can do
Yeah.
it.
Right.
So that really like and then yeah, then we got Crazy Rich Asians and stuff like that, like where I'm like, look at it, look at what you've done. Like I feel like I can you can trace it all back to him specifically. And he and like no movie is a I feel like no movie or show is above him. And anytime
Right.
he is in something, he is always solid. So I hope he doesn't ever stop doing like
Yeah.
like
It's not a
good
horror movie per se, but it is a little horrific. Did you watch Okja?
oh no, I didn't. How was that?
Oh, good one. That's a good one. Like it's not horror, but it is horrifying
It's the
as a
guy who
movie.
did Snowpiercer, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's in it, and he's great in it. And also, like you said, like no movie is like that movie. I don't want to say because it was a straight to Netflix movie.
It was, yeah, it was a Netflix movie.
Yeah. So like I love how you said like nothing's really like too below him. Like he's willing to do things that are like fun and like whatever. He's not like has his nose up too high for things.
Yeah.
And
And
that movie was such a good example of
yeah.
that. It was
And
so good.
they've been so rewarding to him. Like Netflix gave him Beef. Like that show was insane. And
Oh,
that was
loved
two
it.
main Asians. Like
No,
I mean, there were like multiple
yeah,
yeah, I mean there was like a whole family of Asian characters that and they all had such depth. Even the toddler child, like
right.
Like, I just thought
Yeah.
I hope that I think they're bringing that back, but I think they're bringing it back with, like, a whole 'nother cast or something. I'm not quite sure, but I'm intrigued. But yeah, again,
I'd be down to watch that. I love, yeah.
yeah, he and Ali Wong did that shit. Like, that's why we do it. Um,
Sure.
I also kind of wanted to, as just kind of a fun aside, my favorite thing about what I think like silliness and horror when they are tied together, I feel like it is because people do dumb shit. And that's like I feel
Right.
like in any like in any scary, weird, awkward, possibly life-threatening like situation, I feel like we always do dumb stuff. So I wanted to ask you
Right.
if you have a memory of doing something ridiculous because you were scared, terrified, uh, I don't know. Yeah, like fully so scared that you were like, "Why did I do that?" Like after the fact.
Kind of. Because it's like it's really silly, and it's not that I was like in danger or anything, but it
Sure.
was because I was so scared of my parents.
Ooh.
So they had gone out of town and didn't trust my brother and I, so they made us stay with my aunt. And we were like, "Fuck that! We're staying in our own home." So we broke into the back into the house, and then ended up throwing a party there, and it got totally trashed. And I had to like that we like they were came home. I had tried to like clean up as much as possible, but and then we went back to my aunt's house, like try to, play cool. And so they picked us up after they got back from the airport. We're headed home, and I was like sweating. I was like, what? Because it was just so obvious that there was no amount of cleaning that we could do to salvage it. And I was just like, just freaking out. What am I going to do? And I just blurted out, people from school broke into our house and had a party. And of course they knew like right away it was a lie. And he was like, okay, so we're going to call the police right now then. And then I was like, free. I was like,
Okay.
no, okay, maybe that's not what happened. I guess I lied.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I make up that lie? I was like, that's like the worst lie I could have made up. But it just like came out in the moment. And I was like, oh, this is never gonna work.
Yeah, I literally like that makes so much sense. And now it's kind of funny because it's like it's what my 4-year-old does all the time. And I think that's like it is like a form of self-preservation, but not a sexy horror thing where you're like final girl like, "Ugh, like I'm about to hit something. I'm so scared." It's like you're so scared and you're just like consequences, consequences. Like and you just
And you do something that you know is just not gonna work, not
yeah.
gonna fly. You just do it anyways. You just try.
It's like whenever my mom would like break hard and she'd put her hand over him, like you're just like, "Ah," and you're like, at first you're just, the person sitting may not be thinking. She used to do that to me all the time, and I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of, but like Olive will literally like, I don't know, I'll be like, "Oh, you have a bruise. Like, where'd that come from?" And she'd be like, "Rascal did it," and I'm like, "Our cat, really? Our cat did that bruise on your hip? Are you sure? Because it wasn't because you like fell down earlier." Oh, it's because I fell down. Like, but I'm like, "Why did you?" And I know she has no answer for me, but I just think she was just like, "Well, this is what happened."
It's silly.
And she'll like and sometimes she'll joke about something, but I know like what her joking is. But sometimes she'll literally come up with a whole thing. Or like lately she's been drawing pictures and she's like, "Oh, that's my mom, my dad, and my sister." And I'm like, "All of you don't have a sister." And she's like, "Yeah, I do. She died." And I'm like, it's like terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, is she in the room with us right now? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm so scared because I'm like,
That's
I'm
so funny.
pretty,
I'm thinking too about how in scary movies, it's always like the kid, the kid
yeah,
sees. things that the parents don't.
And the parents are always like, "Oh, there, yeah, that's nice, little honey. Bye bye."
Right,
You know, like they're like,
right.
"Oh,
Seriously.
she says she's friends with a pig named Jody." Like, you know, and it's just like, but then she is Amityville. Like, and so now, like, I don't know. I'm very like sensitive when she does stuff like that, but I'm also like, why are you saying like complete random stuff?
Yeah.
It's just I think this is what we do as children, as human beings, when we can't make sense of something. So then we just kind of like,
Make something up.
I mean, I remember straight up lying to my mom about stuff, and I'm sure like later my mom would ask me like, "Why did you lie about that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Right?
And I feel like
It
that's like,
is fun. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like any horror film, if I were in it, somebody would be like, "Why did you choose to do that? Why did you choose to go up the stairs?" I'm so scared. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
terrified. It's very scary. I don't know, I'm terrified. Um, speaking of like, I don't know, anxiety and fear, I was listening to Chicken Happen's last album, which I believe is
Nice.
Chicken Happen 4, or
Yeah.
IV. I don't um
Yeah.
I noticed like I love your guys' music. I've always really enjoyed both your live show, like your live set, and you just released this last album in 2023, last year. Um
Yeah.
and I remember Jared, our production manager, saying he was like, "Have you checked out Chicken Happens' new album? Because it was pretty good." And I like put it on and was like, "Oh, goddamn! Like, yes. Like, I think your voice is absolutely insane. You you got
Ah,
you got runs. I love it. Um I really like, I don't know. I think your energy is great. But I was going to ask, a lot of the songs are very anxious and like full of like dread, and so
oh yeah.
yeah, so I was kind of like, "Oh, that's very interesting," because you were like, like, you know, horror is kind of like, I feel like it is a challenge. What I don't know, what drove the anxiety and the kind of the tenseness of this last album?
I think that I'm like a internally pretty anxious person.
Mm,
As in like I just can't help but worry about everything that's going on in the world, like everything that is just like watching society crumble. And so that's honestly where a lot of that album came from. Like that's where I was. And also just in my own like personal throes of like, who the fuck am I? Who
yes.
am and like, is this like, I feel like I get a chance to I think a lot of people during the pandemic like got a chance to like really kind of look inside and be like, what the what the is life and what am I doing with it? And I really was like just questioning my motives and like what I wanted to show for myself. And a lot of it was just like I felt like I was unhappy with who I had been up until that point, like just like people pleasing and trying to be somebody I wasn't. And it so that album was very much so like I'm so fucking done with all of that. And it's scary as hell, but I'm just gonna try to be myself now.
Yeah, like Find Yourself was like the song where I was like, "Oh god," like it was definitely like taking me back to a place not long ago where I too was like, I mean, during the pandemic, I literally moved our like I had a kid. I literally like a person exists in my house that wasn't there before, which is crazy. And then we were like, okay, let's fuck off and move to Indianapolis to be closer to family. And so then suddenly it's like I wasn't in Chicago, I wasn't going to my work, I wasn't like going outside because I work from home.
Yeah.
And I had to literally like have a conversation with myself where it was like, who are we now? Like, all of the clothes that you have in your closet are not things you wear anymore. Like you're a platinum member of Fabletics. Like you're like what is happening? Like
Yeah.
so I knew that like I had changed the scenery and the situation so much for myself that I also had to change. And dude, that was hard. That was absolutely so very hard. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think the pandemic definitely made us all like go seek therapy and do a lot of like. I mean, I definitely still do
If
a lot
we're
of
lucky, right? If we're lucky, we like really went deep and tried to figure some shit out.
yeah, or like I think a lot of people also realized during the pandemic that it was like they were all like we were all kind of running on fumes.
Right.
Like I think a lot of people just didn't realize like how little like we were taking care of ourselves
Yeah.
until like all of the things we used to distract ourselves got taken away, and then it was like oh no. So I knew a lot of people who were addicts that really struggled. I had like I don't know, it was really crazy. I remember going to my office to like visit, and the only people that were in the office like in 2021
Yeah.
were people that were like, I live alone and I just can't do it anymore. I can't be alone in my house anymore. And I was like, I get it. Like I would be making this commute if I could. I
Yeah.
don't miss it, but I do sometimes. And even, today I haven't left my house one bit, one time. And I know tomorrow that can't happen. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, that's interesting cuz yeah, I think what since the pandemic I've written a total of like a whopping like 2 songs for the cell phones, and they both are very like anxious and upset.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, oh, and I wrote like one for like a Roe v. Wade like abortion compilation, and that one is just
Yeah.
so sad. So like
Yeah.
I just feel like all this stuff I've written like post pandemic has been really like I'm still trying to getting that stuff out. Um
Definitely.
I have been called a very like a writer, like a songwriter as therapy person. Is that kind of how you write?
Definitely.
Cool.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome. I feel like I don't know if this is how you feel, but for me, I feel like I'm not necessarily like exercising a demon or anything, but it's like I've got something in my head that won't stop. Like like a just a revolving record that's just constantly going and going and telling me something about myself that I don't necessarily like, or something that is bugging me that and it's like stopping me from like living a life. Um but if I write it down and put it in a song, then I get to just put it on a like it's almost like my song shelf, and I just go, "Well, there it is over there now and not in here. It's
Right.
in a song." And if I want to talk about how I felt at that exact moment in time, I can just sing that song. And
Totally.
yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
a lot of a lot of people around me don't write like that. So
Oh, okay.
hearing your stuff like makes me feel like that's cool, like, that it's cool, like, I feel like I'm in a cool kid club now,
Nice.
because yeah, like, I think I get sometimes blasted for, like, people be like, "Oh, I don't know, Lindsay's lyrics are not, like, poetic, they're very literal," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, because what I'm feeling is very literal."
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
know what to
I was a
say.
little nervous about because it's definitely was like the most vulnerable lyric wise and even just I would say vocally very centered on my voice.
Oh, yeah.
Really like hear every word and I was very nervous about it because I was like, man, like I don't know why. I was like, people are gonna hear these words and be like, ah, she's full of shit, or like, or like, oh, this is too cheesy, or it's too fucking sappy and sad and depressing,
Yeah,
or something.
and
So,
it's like some people will think that it's like, this isn't theirs, like
right,
that's kind of like what I think in my head is like what I just made, like that's not yours, that's mine.
right,
And anytime that somebody can like hear something that I wrote and say, "Oh man, I get that." Like I've been there. Like that like honestly, I'm like that's you've just made it worth it for
Right.
me. Like that's it. So
I don't
like
know if you've ever dealt with this before, but a lot of the times, like I'll write lyrics that maybe some people can misconstrue as love songs, and because I'm a female, they'll like ask me like, "Oh, who'd you write that about? Who broke your heart there?" I'm like, "That's not what it's about." Like, no, like I was like, and I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just like I feel like I get asked that more because I'm a woman, and people just expect that I'm writing songs about like, oh, I'm sad about a guy, and I'm like, no, that's really not even what the song is about at all. But okay,
that's great. Yeah. I feel like I mean, I feel like everybody at least brave enough, I guess, to ask me those questions, know me enough that they know that my songs come from somewhere. But they don't always have to come from my experience specifically. Like I wrote a song called Bachelor that was about my friend Kate who uh at the time was dating like a guy that we all knew and loved and he was great, but not a great boyfriend and just seemed like he always wanted to just kind of date her but like not have all of the trappings of what a relationship is. And so I wrote kind of from her perspective and
I like doing that too.
yeah, like I like kind of that it's almost like you're using like you're kind of using yourself as kind of like a medium and you're just saying like
Right.
you're feeling this way. I just felt so bad for her because I felt like she was deserving of a good relationship and I thought he was being really stupid as much as we liked him as a person. And so I wrote the song kind of for her, but also like I wanted to still play with like that even if he was still being a shit, like she still really liked him. And so I wanted to play with that too. And I never wanted her to think I was like making fun of her.
Yeah.
Um and so I remember I'm not a good liar in any way. So I like with the second I was done with that song, I was like, this is about you. Like and she was just like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And I'm like, "I know, it's weird. I'm sorry." And but now it's so funny. We're gonna go to Amsterdam in July or some shit to go see her get married. So it's like I don't know. I'm always like, oh, things work out, and it's cool because it's like that song again is like it's not about her now. It's about her then. It's about like I write songs where I had a really strong feeling about something 10 years ago, and now I sing it and I'm like, that was weird.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
I'm okay now, I guess.
Oh, I remember that. I remember when I was going through that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very silly. Or like it's really funny. Like I remember I wrote a couple songs about like Ryan and Ryan, I was like, these are about you, you dumbass. Like and he was just like, I know. But then the one time I was like, it was about like a volcano erupting, and I was kind of just telling him to like, hey, just, go off. Like, just date me, please. Like, just stop this dormant shit. And then later, like, somebody asked them, oh, what's the song about? And both Ryan and Justin were like, this song's about jizz. And I'm like, and then I listened to the lyrics again. I was like, God damn it. It could be about jizz. It could be about jizz. Oh, God. So yeah, I love again everybody. It's all open to interpretation, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Well, cool. I thank you so much for being here. I so much appreciate it. Tell me what is going on with Chicken Happen currently, or what are your upcoming shows?
So we're playing this fest out in Plano called Hong Kong Pizza Party,
Woo!
and that's next weekend. Yeah,
And
so
you think you're thinking about all the stuff you have to do to prepare,
yeah. And then we're just trying really hard to, because we've been playing a lot of shows, but June 13th, we're playing the show with you guys, the cell phones, an empty bottle. And then we don't have any shows lined up, and I want to just work on new music
Yes, awesome. Very cool.
because we've been slowly working on new music, but every time we're like getting into it, they're like, "Oh, well, but we got to prepare for this show coming up."
Mhm.
So we're
Yeah,
really
it
excited to because it'll be the first. This is the first time we're a lot of some of these songs on the last album are like super old for us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of them really sounded familiar to me, and I was thinking like, "Oh, you're probably making that up," but yeah, potentially they could have been.
Or they were just like demos from like 10 years ago that I never thought would be a song. So
Cool.
in my mind, some of these songs are just so old. So I'm like just very eager to write songs with the band again. And like now that there's piano songs, and I was like not sure, like, am I gonna just do piano songs or should I do piano and guitar songs? But now like how we just like I'll just show them the guys a demo, and then we'll decide from there. Maybe this should be a piano song, or maybe this should be a guitar song. So that's kind of cool. Just like not trying to limit myself on like go back to guitar or no, just write piano songs now.
That's cool, and it's good to have like other opinions because I feel like sometimes you hear a song like I'm working on one that I literally like did on my auto harp, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a solo thing because it's the tempo's too slow. Like it's not like I can't picture Justin blasting on this. But then like I don't know, Justin's gotten older and now he wants to like play slower tempos, and I'm like, well, maybe
You not, yeah,
like it's cool, and it's also good to clean house because like sometimes you've got all these songs that you've just been thinking about for a long time, and you're just like put them on an album, get them out of my face, and so that
right.
you can have room for the new stuff.
Isn't it also kind of funny how you'll write something, be like, they're, like, oh, the other bandmates, they're probably not going to be into this one, or maybe this isn't really our style. And you show them, they're like, no, no, this, yeah, we'll do this. And you're like, okay, all right, cool.
I do like that. Yeah, I think like sometimes even like when I would offer or I'd suggest like cover songs, and I'd be like, oh hey guys, like what do you think about doing Rihanna? They're gonna say no. And then literally like, the next day Ryan's like, we got it figured out. We've
Nice.
rehearsed it already and we're ready to do it. And I was like, oh shit, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. Like sometimes I don't know, again, I am very anxious. I always get in my head about stuff and I come up with weird uh hypotheticals that don't exist,
Yeah.
and I think, oh, what if these people just don't understand what I'm saying, um and then they'll be like, oh, I do get it, and then it's just like, oh wow, what, I did so much worrying just now. Like,
Totally.
oh, I'm working on it. Oh, I feel like I'm not alone either, so thank you very much.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. I feel,
Great. Well, I look forward to hearing more chicken happen. I cannot wait to see you guys in June.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much.
for sure. Thank you. It was so much fun.
And that's it. Thank you so much for listening and or watching or whatever. Thank you so much. My daughter painted this. All right, bye.